this is real now, like the judgment of others and our judgment of other people. Like, how do we try to negotiate that process, and how do we deal with it when it's happening to us or we're doing it to other people without knowing it? Because that can get real and even more oppressive than a lockdown.
I've seen discussions of people who go shopping and how do they handle when somebody comes close to them. So do you get upset? Do you yell at them? Do you calmly say, look, I'm sorry, I'm maintaining social distance. Please respect that, you know? So there's all kinds of opportunity here to learn how to be with other people under situations of stress and tension.
How much does that lack of physical contact, how much is that hurting us?
Yeah, well, I think that's hurting us a lot. See, physical contact, human beings are wired to attach, to connect with other people. There's a reason for that. In fact, we evolved. For all that, we talk about rugged individualism here in the West, especially in North America. Human beings would never have evolved as rugged individualists. We wouldn't have lasted a minute. So from the evolutionary point of view, and I've just been studying this in writing my new book, human beings, mammals, or hominins, or human-like creatures appeared on the earth, I think, something like 2 million years ago. Our present species, Homo sapiens, I think we arrived on the scene maybe around 200,000 years ago. From those 2 million years and those 200,000 years until about 10,000 years ago, we lived in small band hunter-gatherer groups. We wandered in the outdoors in a purposeful fashion with a small group of people that were absolutely connected to. And all the children were parented by all the adults. And everybody was in relationship to everybody else. And physical touch was a big part of it. So we're wired to attach. And the mechanisms of attachment include physical touch. In fact, for babies, that's the only thing that's available. So when a baby cries, they want to be picked up because they want that physical touch. As we get older, we develop other ways of attaching. We can be important to each other. We can copy each other and be attached that way. We can share our intimate feelings with each other. We can hold somebody's image in our hearts and love them even if we don't see them for a long time. But the most fundamental, the most rudimentary, and the most basic way of attaching is still the physical touch. So we're missing that in a big way now. So grandchildren are missing the touch of their grandparents now. And especially it's hard, Brian, for people who are living alone. We're not partnered, we're not in a relationship. And,
Yes.
and who can't go out there and hug their friends and shake hands and so on. This is a tough time for people.
Yeah. And they probably don't realize how much that's adding up and, changing them. I mean, yeah, I mean, for me and my boys, like, I don't know how to communicate with them without touching them. Like, that's my default. I'm grabbing them, I'm messing with them, I'm picking them up. And when I touch them when they're sleeping at night, and in the morning, if they're, that's my default. So, and I'm lucky to have that, grab time, snuggle time stuff with them, because I think it charges me up more so than I ever realized before.
I think what I'm hearing here and what I'm getting is that this is really an opportunity for us to get in touch with our humanity, with a very vulnerable humanity. Most of the time we can escape from our vulnerability. Now it's a lot harder. And that same vulnerability can make us a lot more open as well. So you're grabbing your kids and you're hugging your kids, well, that's showing your need for contact, and that's vulnerable, Yeah. And it also makes you more open.
I've never felt so grateful and so connected as now. I know that sounds so strange, but maybe it doesn't sound strange. I bet people felt that way during the Second World War in difficult scenarios. Even troops, maybe they felt the same way, somehow connected to each other in a way they never felt in civilian life. You know?
Oh, I think that's a common theme of people. I mean, it's interesting. My father, we're Jewish, as you know, and my father in Hungary was in a forced labor battalion. So the Jews couldn't serve in the army as sort of second-class citizens, but they'd had to serve the country by joining these forced labor battalions, which means that they were not armed, but they had to dig ditches, they had to build fortifications, haul material, whatever, you know, under very severe conditions, under conditions where they could be severely punished or even killed if they did the wrong thing. So my father was in a forced labor battalion for over a year during the last years of the war. And what always surprised me is that he talked about those times with a lot of affection, precisely for the same reason that you just mentioned, because the camaraderie and the closeness, the sense of being together and sharing the same faith and of supporting one another and of enduring something in the companionship of other human beings was an extraordinarily valuable experience and a formative root experience in his life. And that's why he was capable of forgetting the fear and the terror and all that they all experienced at the same time.